We're here to talk about Axon and AI in healthcare interoperability. The team has been working on Axon. Hopefully for any of our customers joining, you've been able to use it and check it out. We're really excited about it and really excited to have this webinar today. So just before we get started, I wanted to do an introduction of everyone speaking today. So the webinar is going to be broken into really 3 parts. So the first part will be Ted, which is one of our professional services members. He's going to talk through like what Axon is, some of the data and security components of it, and walk through all of that. Then Caitlin will take over the demo. And so she's going to be going over what Axon is, what it can do, how it can influence some of your work streams today. And then finally, we're going to turn it over with myself and Fred and Jennifer from University of Rochester Medicine. And we're going to be talking through a fireside chat, how they've been using Axon, where they see some of the most value, and how any advice they have for others who are looking to use Axon in the future. So before we get started, I also just want to kind of give a overview of where AI is today and how people are using it today. So we recently conducted a survey and found that 1 in 4 organizations spend over 20 hours a week troubleshooting integrations. And so we found that, this is kind of indicative of how the integration space has been traditionally, where a lot of this work has been kind of seen as something that is unchangeable and is just nature of the beast, where integration work is tedious. It has a lot of things that you need to troubleshoot, a lot of maintenance that needs to be done, and something that just kind of goes along with it and is not really something that can be changed, just has to be met with more man hours and more effort. That also is coinciding with a trend that we're seeing in the industry and amongst our customers, which is an expectation to deliver more and do more faster, but with less resources. That's both less headcount and also less monetary resources. And so both of those combined are putting a lot of pressure on our customers, on putting pressure on integration teams to do more with less. And so what we were hoping is that Rhapsody Axon is going to solve some of those issues. It will be able to plug in directly into your work streams and move things along without having to add any headcount or add additional resources. So we're really excited. We've heard really great things with Axon so far. We're working on it constantly and really excited to dive in and show you some of it today. Before I turn it over to Ted, I wanted to just do a quick poll of everyone to see kind of where everyone is at with how they're using AI today. I know that there's lots of different people have different experiences with AI and have different experience. So just want to get a sense of where everyone is at before we really launch in. And if anyone has any questions or needs to put anything in the chat, there should be an option for that. Doesn't look like when the poll showed up. All right, well, no worries. I think generally what we've seen across a lot of people is that there's just a lot of range in a lot of people. We're trying it again. We'll see if we can get the poll going. Is everyone able to see this? Okay, I see. So it seems like people are able to see the poll but can't select it. That's quite all right. It seems like in the chat there's people have been saying that there's actively adopting it. I think like what I've at least personally seen from a lot of our customers is it's quite a wide range. If anyone has any thoughts, feel free to pop them in the chat. But we definitely have seen a wide range where some people are actively adopting it and working it into their workflows, whereas we've also seen a lot of customers not adopting it either due to governance issues or other constraints that their organization has on AI. And then obviously a lot of people somewhere in between where they're able to adopt it in limited use cases, but not being able to really fully integrate it the way that they would like to. So I think that there's a wide range of how much people these days are adopting it. Great. Well, with that, I'll turn it over to Ted, who will walk through what Axon is, some of the security and data components of it.
Yeah, hi all. I'm Ted Keller. I'm a principal architect on the professional services team. I know and recognize some of the names, but many of you I haven't met before, so just want to say hi quickly. And We'll dig into some of this. I'm going to turn my camera off just for some bandwidth, save some bandwidth. So what is Axon? And Axon is an industry's first health data integration agent. It's not just a search bar or a chat bot. It's an agent that actually understands integration workflows. It comes preloaded with curated Rhapsody and Corepoint knowledge that's refreshed automatically. So that means you don't have any setup to do yourself, no separate install, no tools to manage. It's there and ready for you to use today. One of the most common use cases that we're seeing clients use Axon for is searching our documentation. And for any of you that have tried to read documentation, it's a tedious process sometimes clicking through pages. But Axon is a very quick and direct access to the documentation. If you need to parse a specific field or trim white space from something, or you're not sure what approach to use with a filter, you can ask Axon, and it will give you feedback, sometimes multiple options for how you could do something. And one of the nice things that I really like about it is it explains it. It just doesn't just say, okay, here, do this. It gives you some explanation of it, and helps you understand it. So the next time you may not need to go there, or if you want to document your changes, you can actually add that as documentation, to your changes, so that somebody else coming along can review that change and further understand it. In Rhapsody, the mapper, there's several functions within the mapper that require oftentimes to go to the documentation to understand the different components. If you're having trouble with that, you can ask Axon, and it will explain the options, possibly offer you multiple options to those mapper functions. If there's a particular setting with a configuration that you haven't used before, then the Axon can help you explain what that setting does, and again, give you a step-by-step walkthrough of that. If you're getting an error, I find myself frequently using it for error resolution. You can put the text of the error in and ask for guidance on how to resolve it. It's very helpful for those. It has knowledge of the standards that we work with, FHIR and HL7, X12, CCDA, REST. So it can help you guide through solutions that you may not be familiar with, and a tool for upskilling yourselves or your staff. And if you're bringing on new staff, Axon is a great tool for helping that new staff understand Rhapsody when maybe your more experienced staff isn't available, and so they don't sit and wonder or wait. They have to wait for that other more experienced staff member to be available to ask them a question. So it can be a great upskill tool as well. You can use Axon today, no matter what version you have that's from a browser, using the link chat.axon.rhapsody.health. You will have to log in using your one login credentials. So if you don't have your one login credentials, you can contact your account manager or open a support case, and we can get you enabled. The tools starting in Rhapsody 7.6, the IDE has direct access to Axon. So I find myself using it more, regularly from the browser than from the IDE. So whichever you feel more comfortable with, certainly you can get to it today. All right, so next slide, please. Yeah, so security. We know the first question in healthcare is always, how is my data protected? We want to assure everyone that we are protecting you and your data. Never trains on your data. Your interactions and feedback are not fed into any models so that we can use that data. We don't share your data with other providers. Your queries and data stay within Rhapsody. We're always updating the knowledge base. So we're every 2 weeks we're behind the scenes adding updates, so you don't have to worry about downloading the latest version and uploading it to your instance of Rhapsody or Corepoint. It's always being updated behind the scenes, and so you have current information. It's right now on a 2-week cycle, so it's happening behind the scenes, and you don't even know it. You can see what the latest changes are, and we do a demo of that. We'll show you where you can see the most recent updates. So if something was doing one thing, 3 weeks ago, and you may see in the recent update that some changes have been made to change that behavior. And we're also keeping it isolated and controlled. Encryption and access controls are in place to prevent any sharing of questions posed or data entered. If you paste in JavaScript code or any other code or specs, then that is safe. We want your feedback. So we are when you get a response from Axon, you'll see thumbs up or thumbs down. If you don't like something, you can respond, or if you don't feel it's accurate, you can give it a thumbs down, and we'll ask for some feedback. You don't have to give it; you can just give a thumbs down. But to help us understand what was wrong, if you give us some text around what you think was wrong, then we'll use that to improve and learn from it. But we're not storing your data or your code. But we just want to emphasize that the healthcare grade safeguards are built in from the ground up to protect you and your organization. So I know all organizations are dealing with AI, and each one will be a little bit different as to what you're allowed to use and not use. But we are thinking of security at the forefront of what we're developing here. So next slide. So why is Axon different? So we don't want to replace you or your integration experts. We just want to make them be more efficient and cut the time spending hunting down answers or learning about a feature that you haven't used before. Axon is 50% faster to get help when your team are reading and searching documents or opening support cases, waiting for a response. Axon can cut that time in half, freeing you up for other projects and other more needed tasks that don't involve searching documentation. We see relevant answers in under 30 seconds compared to searching for documentation. I know when I've searched documentation sometimes, and I know where I think I need to look for it. Anytime I had to go into the documentation, it was always at least a 15 to 30 minute process, and going to Axon is saved so much time in that regard. As I said earlier, biweekly updates. So we're working on current information, not stuff that's been sitting around stale for 6 months, and we're always doing that behind the scenes. So in summary, it's not a general purpose AI. It's built specifically for healthcare interoperability, which means the actions or the answers are actionable. You can frequently take stuff right out of the copy and paste it right out of Axon and into your engine, and it works. So I hope that you'll start to use it if you're not, and if you have, you've already experienced some of these benefits.
Awesome. Great. Thank you, Ted. I really appreciate that overview. I can certainly attest that I've also similarly found Axon to be extremely helpful looking up any kind of that documentation, especially for areas that are maybe difficult for me to understand. It's very helpful to have it, put it in plain English for me and kind of spell it out. So Yeah, thank you, Ted, for that walkthrough. Before we switch over to the demo, I know we had some trouble with the last poll, so instead of trying that again, instead, if everyone could just put in the chat their answers to some of these questions, would really appreciate that. Just kind of get a sense again where everyone stands today in terms of what's taking the most time in your organization. I imagine the answer might be most of these or even all of these, but still, I think it's good to get a sense where people are at. Yeah, Chris, I agree. I do see all of these. Yes. um, yep, I'm seeing a lot of building new integrations, seeing a lot of troubleshooting and correcting code. Yeah, generally seems like troubleshooting. So number one, correcting code, and then building new integrations certainly seem to be top of mind for everybody, which is great. That it really aligns with I think what we've heard from a lot of our customers is that a lot of it is troubleshooting slash correcting code, maintaining those existing integrations is really what's really costly, and so that's exactly the problem that we're looking to address with Axon. We're really hoping that Axon will be able to accelerate a lot of those more tedious processes so that developers can spend more time creating new integrations and doing things, spending their time that they would rather be spending it do something like that that's more interesting and more brings more value to the organization rather than having to go back and be constantly updating and maintaining existing code. Great, awesome. Well, appreciate everyone responding in the chat instead of the poll. I really appreciate it and appreciate the interaction. Great. Alrighty, well, with that in mind, we'll pass it over to Caitlin now to walk through this slide and then jump into the demo. Oops, sorry, I can leave this up. Caitlin, I think we might be having some trouble hearing you.
How about now?
That's perfect.
Sorry about that.
No worries.
Yes, hi everyone. I'm Caitlin Formal. I'm a senior solution consultant here at Rhapsody. I've been with the organization for 13 years. I actually started working with the Rhapsody integration engine when it was Rhapsody 5.3. So working with Axon since March has been wonderful. I realize how it can save our engineers, day-to-day like hours when it comes to different troubleshooting and building interfaces. So I've really enjoyed it. I think it's the coolest thing that we've built in my time here. And so it's going to frame the demo today around like kind of the four main functions that I think Axon can really help your engineers as they're working with Rhapsody or Corepoint. I will be demoing in Rhapsody today. The agentic actions specifically are available in Rhapsody, and they will be available in the parity and those features will be available in Corepoint at the end of July. But for both of them, we're gonna have different capabilities for things like we can ask, we can troubleshoot, we can correct code, and then of course those agentic actions to do the build. And I kind of like, the different tasks that Axon can do kind of mirror what an integration engineer is actually going to be doing in real time. So, a team might start with asking questions, we run into an error, we need to troubleshoot, then we need to validate or correct the logic, and then of course we want to always be looking for ways to accelerate our builds. So Axon's going to support you in all of these moments. So from your build to like when you run into an error, going through all of those. So starting with ask, I think Ted touched on this. I won't harp on it too much, but ask is where we can ask Axon like plain language questions like, how do I create a web services post endpoint? Or what does this field within this HL7 segment mean? Or how do I approach like, doing a FHIR map, or like what fields do I need to actually map into a specific FHIR resource? So it's not only industry-based questions, it's also specific questions about things like Rhapsody and Corepoint. So maybe you need to ask it how to handle like a transient state object or a certain action as I'm creating my action list in Corepoint. And so I think the value here is that users don't need to stop what they're doing, like search through documentation, or like wait for like a senior person to ask. you can just kind of bring that guidance directly into the workflow. As we go through, additionally within Axon, we need to do, when we're building an interface, we need to do a lot of troubleshooting. So in real integration work, the troubleshooting, all of it starts with incomplete information. So like we have an error message or a failed test, or like a route isn't behaving the way it should. Axon can actually interpret those details. So I can tell it like which route to look at. I can copy and paste an error message, maybe a stack trace or log output, and put those details directly into Axon. And it can parse that information and help me like identify actually what's going on. So am I missing some metadata, or is there like a communication point issue or a filter configuration error? It makes it really easy to do that. Additionally, we can hop into how we're going to, how we can correct code. So I can do things like look at this JavaScript. Do I have any syntax errors? And interpret this route and tell me things for best practices. Lastly, which I think is actually, I'm going to start with this in the demo because I think it's kind of the highlight, is the agentic actions. And so that is where we can, actually tell Axon types of things that we need to build and have Axon build those in real time. So right now I'm sharing my screen. I'd like to highlight that, Axon can be accessed, from 2 different avenues. And so one is within, as Ted mentioned earlier, within the browser. So I can still, I can ask Axon the different questions. I can still have it build JavaScript. Additionally, Axon is available within both the Corepoint and Rhapsody IDEs. And specifically for the agentic actions, you'll need to log in to Axon via the IDE to do that. I'm logged in using Rhapsody 8 agentic features, and you can access Axon by clicking this little blue star icon here, and it will pull up Axon kind of where your filter toolbox would normally be. So Axon, I can connect it using the Rhapsody 8 agentic IDE for any engine that is Rhapsody 7.6 or later. But as I'll show you in the demo, there's also some different features that, even if I don't upgrade or I'm not at 7.6 yet, there's still a lot that you can do within Axon and build accordingly. When you first log into Axon, you'll see things like, some details about Axon. And I think what's really important is this latest release section here. As Ted said earlier, we are making frequent updates to Axon. And so, kind of keeping in tune with what's going on, what's new, and the new features that you can use. Go ahead and hit into my Rhapsody integration chat here, and this is also telling me that I have activated some different MCP tools. And so within Rhapsody, if I'm in build mode, in order to activate my agentic action, I can select the different tools that are available to me as a Rhapsody user. So these are things that, Axon can actually take action within your integration engine. So things like get component, create a filter, and read and write to your IDE. You can enable these different tools. And these are also controlled by access. That I'm actually going to copy and paste a prompt in here. Let's start with an agentic action. I think that's what a lot of people came here to see. So I'm going to ask Axon to build a new interface, and this is a common one that we're asked to do a lot, is I need to map HL7 version 2 into a FHIR payload. I'm copy and paste this so you guys don't have to watch me type. Let's see what Axon can build here. So I'm going to go ahead and do the prompt, and Axon's going to think and kind of analyze my prompt. Axon can work in a few different ways. We can give it really direct, like long step-by-step actions that I need to take, or additionally, it can I can prompt it one by one if I want to start with mapping. As it's thinking, it's going to tell me like which knowledge base it's calling, what it's doing. But while this is thinking, I do want to hop over to the browser. I want to kind of show you some other chats that I've done here in the past, which is even if I didn't have that full capability or I hadn't upgraded yet, I can still ask Axon the same exact thing in the browser-based tool that everyone has access to. I just asked it to create a JavaScript that maps HL7 v2 into a FHIR patient resource. So an ADT into a FHIR patient resource, which is the same prompt that I did in the other page. But here I can just copy and paste this into a filter within Rhapsody. So even if I haven't upgraded, I just want to emphasize that the browser-based tool is also very valuable to our users. Coming back over to my IDE, it's calling a knowledge base, and what I like, and I think Ted emphasized, that it doesn't just do it. It's actually going to tell me step by step what it's going to be calling, what it's going to be doing, and ask me any additional questions that it needs. What's its expected outcome, and even a concept map of what it's proceeding to build. And so it's asking me, should I proceed with building this? I'm going to say yes, proceed. We can see it build this in real time. So I think I asked it, I forget which locker, what I named the locker. There it goes. I was going to go ahead and build this this route within Rhapsody. As you can see here, it actually created the locker on the left-hand side called webinar. And it's going to go ahead and build me my new route and take all of the different actions that I fed into it. We've been really pushing Axon's limits and testing a lot of different things. Some of the really cool things that I've done with it recently, I've been able to like upgrade all of my JavaScript version 1 JavaScript REST client communication points into V2. It can do that for you automatically. And as you see here, after I do the build, another like really a really pivotal feature is that it can also create my sample messages. And so a lot of times when I'm testing, I'm doing different builds, any different sample data that I want to put in my test filters immediately, I can actually just now ask Axon to do that for me. So it's calling the different tools, again, those MCP tools, I created my communication point, put that input communication point, and put that here on the left-hand side. And it's building here from end to end. And again, I'm doing this using the Rhapsody IDE, the same features with the same, the features will be on parity in Corepoint. We're aiming that for the end of July. Of course, some things will be different, like instead of creating a filter, you'll be creating action lists and things like that. But the same types of build functionality is going to be available to you. Just going ahead and connecting things up. One thing Axon doesn't do well right now is it doesn't make straight lines, so I always make them straight after once it's finally done. I was just thinking we can also ask it some different questions here within the Axon chat. So I think we talked about that one. Oh, my build's actually complete. So you can see here, it's doing this manual steps for starting. It needs me to check it in. Of course, that's the first thing that I normally do. I usually pick my lines straight first, check it in. You can see it created my inbound communication point, as specified with the ports that I needed. It also created that different FHIR mapping here. It created that full JavaScript in order to do that map for me. I'm actually going to ask it to create me a test message now. Create a generic ADT test message for me to test the configure the JavaScript. So let's see if it can create me. I misspelled some things, but hopefully Axon understands what I'm talking about. It should be able to create me like a nice generic ADT test message for me to put in there. So it's telling me again what it's searching for, and it's going to output the test message for me, and then I can copy and paste that into the test filter configuration. I think day-to-day, as I've been using Axon, has been really, I think, most pivotal. And I'm showing you guys the build right now because I think the agentic actions are really cool, but I think it's really pivotal, especially with the troubleshooting. I can copy and paste different errors that I get as I'm searching through the management console. I've had it analyze different logs to see what's going on. But once I go ahead and create this sample message for me, I can put that into my test harness here. Put that in. Load that up, and let's run this and see what it did. So went ahead and was able to create that, again, that inbound ADT, and I was able to map that to a FHIR resource. This is something that, like, writing this JavaScript from scratch, or even if I was using a template, making those different edits to it would taken me a lot longer than a few minutes, or I wouldn't, be doing this live in a demo with you guys. I also like that I can easily update the code. So I can ask it, okay, update the code because I have this particular FHIR server that I'm connecting to requires an extension. So I need to add additional fields, or maybe I need to also map some data from the PD1 to create this patient resource. It's really extensible, and I can kind of talk to Axon and have it do those changes for me. So some of the other stuff, I can easily ask it. And again, it's just in the interest of time, I'm going to hop back over into my Axon here and show you some previous chats. But you can actually really specific content about Rhapsody. So like something that I frequently have to do or I forget how to do is using transient state objects. So how do I use a transient state object to cache a token? And so it even creates the JavaScript for me that I can copy and paste, or I can have, if I'm doing this within the IDE, just have Axon write that code So right now I'm just not authenticating to the FHIR server, but I'm probably going to have to pass it a token to do OAuth. And so that would be my next step as I was going through this build. So hopefully this was a good overview of the types of types of things that you can do within Axon. We're happy to do really detailed demos of this functionality. So please reach out to your account manager, your sales director if you guys want to see more. But I'm going to pass it back over to Holden. Stop sharing.
Sweet. Thank you, Caitlin. That was great. I'm always still impressed when I just like see all of the stuff on Axon where it populates, even if it's not in a straight line. I'm still impressed just like watching it auto-populate like that. I feel like is very cool. I also want to highlight, I know that we are, I do see a number of questions coming through the chat. And so I can address these at the end. And we'll have time at the end for Q&A, but just I want to recognize I see all of these coming through, so we're not ignoring you. We just we'll address those at the end. But for now, really excited to introduce Fred and Jennifer, who are coming from U Rochester Medicine. They are two customers of ours, and really appreciate both of you joining today. We always love hearing from our customers, so it's awesome to have you both on the line.
Thanks for having us.
So suppose just to get started, would love to just kind of hear an intro. Fred, maybe you can tell us a little bit about your team and what some of the things that you and Jen are currently working on.
So for at the U of R, under Jen's umbrella, we are broken up into 4 groups. The first group is for our architecture. Our architecture group does things like help us with designs of our communications and things like that, so that we're consistent in our builds and things like that. Our second group is for the bridges group. They take care of all of the bridges work and to help with FHIR setups and things like that. The third group is our voice of the group, the BAs, the business analysts. They take care of all of the conversations with our vendors, either internal or external. And they create things for us called BLDs, which are great documents that they pass to the developers, which is the fourth group, which I belong in. They pass the information, the specifications to us, and we do the builds to get the final product out there. So, but that's, there's 4 teams. However, there's no fences in between. We all work within Rhapsody. We all can do BLDs, and we all can help with some of the architecture work and bridges. So that's the way our team is laid out under Jen. Jen, is there anything else you would like to add to that?
No, thanks. Fred, I think you covered it all.
Okay.
Awesome.
That's how we're lined up.
Yeah, no, good to understand kind of the architecture of the organization and how you guys are all working together. Would love to hear how you first started using Axon and what your kind of journey has been from like when you first started using it to how you guys are using it now.
Well, like anybody else, I think you have that, you're hearing things and you get this little fear about AI itself. But I have to remember way back when I first started programming, I used to ask the senior programmer all of these questions, and I got upset with myself for asking him so many questions. And he told me, it's a quote from Beethoven or somebody. What did he say? Don't only practice your art, force it to give it your secrets. So that's the first thing I said. I said, you know what, I'm going to try to see what Axon can actually do for me. Because before we had Axon, we actually had an internal AI. Andreas is his name. We call Andreas internal. Andreas intelligence. The guy is a poet of Rhapsody. He knows the Doki backwards and forwards, and we would always bug him. But I had to do something with a jot filter. So I said, let me ask Axon about this jot filter. And just like Ted and Caitlin pointed out, it gave me so much information in just that one question about the jot filter. I felt like after conversating with it, I knew exactly what I needed to do and how it responded. So that's how I got started.
That's great. Yeah, I feel like sorry that maybe we replaced maybe Axon and placed Andreas, if that's what you guys were using.
No, you can't. He's a whisperer. of Rhapsody. So
I love it.
yeah.
Great. That's awesome. I would love to hear you talk about how you've used kind of like what the best use case that you've found for Axon has been. Like, where do you find the most value from Axon? How does it speed up some of your workflows?
So let Jen start that one.
Well,
She's got a good one.
one place we've found a lot of value, and Fred mentioned our business analyst team, where they really do so much analysis for us. They really take on all of that interaction and back and forth with the vendor, asking all the questions. Some of our vendors are very good. Their specs are buttoned up. They know what they're doing. They've done it a million times. Other vendors are very new at this. Maybe we don't have the best spec or no dated specs. So they'll go through it and then start asking questions. And as you can imagine, this team has, they're very busy and they have a lot to do between all the analysis they do, and they manage all of our testing. So one place we really started to look at was, what if we took Axon and we threw the specs through Axon and asked it what it thought, or what do we need to do? What are the required fields? What needs to go into this interface? So we have that understanding up front. And it really, really condensed that analysis time, and we could go back to the vendors more quickly to say, hey, what's going on here? We noticed this, or this doesn't look right. Or, maybe we find out that, oh, we didn't actually give you the most up-to-date spec. Let's try that again. So now our analysts would have to go through the whole process a second time. So now we can just put that through Axon and ask it the same questions and get to those answers a lot quicker. And for the team that is probably the most strapped for time and bandwidth, we found it very useful because it does speed up that process quite a bit.
That's awesome. Yeah. I mean, yeah, sorry, Fred, go ahead.
No, to piggyback on that, we're currently bringing on a new system to Epic, and we've had I don't know, a slew of interfaces that we have to bring onto that Rhapsody instance. Working with Axon and plunking in the specs allowed us to get more granular with our questions, just like Jen brought up, and be able to let us build out faster for the developers. So I'm just piggybacking on what she's saying.
Yeah, that's really great. Yeah, like Jen, like you had said, like I said at the beginning of the webinar, thinking about how there's, the kind of push and pull of in healthcare these days of rising expectations and needing to do more, but shrinking resources. And like you said, that team is often the one that's the most time crunched. So I think that's, exactly what we're hoping to help with. How much, if you, I know it's probably hard to estimate, but if you were to try to put a number on it, how much time do you think that has saved in that process?
I don't know that we could really put a number on it yet, because we're still really trying to figure out how best to use the tools to get what we need and what's really the most important. So I think and we're still relatively new at doing that. So I think it's kind of tough to put an answer on, we've saved, 8 hours a project, 12 hours project. But the one example I do like is that we did take, a vendor gave us a 254-page spec. I'm not reading that. I'm not reading that. So I just copied and pasted and threw into Axon and asked it a bunch of questions, and it told us what we needed to know much quicker than I am ever going to read that length of a document.
Yeah, certainly. Yeah, you can't. It's a tall ask to go through a document of that size and understand it front to back. And in a similar vein, Jen, I know you and I had spoken earlier. Somebody as myself doesn't have the technical expertise of either of you or of Ted and Caitlin. I really appreciate an Axon where I can plug things into it and have it explained to me kind of in lay terms what it's getting at. Could you both speak to that a little bit, just in terms of how Axon might be able to help somebody with less of a formal background, or if you're trying to onboard somebody new, how it can explain things?
And I feel like I'm in that boat with you, Holden. I'm not really in the engine. I'm not coding. I'm not doing the level of work that Fred and the rest of the team is really doing. So if I have to do something in there, I often get stuck. And I think one day I was trying to export something, and normally Rhapsody has the little export buttons everywhere. I'm like, there's no export button. So I just got out Axon and I can't remember off the top of my head what it was, but I just said, hey, I'm trying to export this. And it said, there's no export functionality for that, but here's what you can do. And I said, well, I don't know how to do that. Can you get me through it? And it gave me the step-by-step instructions on how I would be able to go about doing that myself. And it really was very, very helpful and very useful. So the other thing that I've been really working on is our alarm and on-call management and our error queue management. So as you can imagine, connected to, I think, over 100 systems, and we have 500 or 600 Rhapsody interfaces now. It's chatty. Something goes down, we get an alert, an alarm, and they can be very numerous at times. So I've really taken it to take that on-call information, which we pass from Rhapsody to our ticketing system, and take that apart and do some analysis. I was doing that analysis myself by hand before some of our AI tools really came along, and I really started using Axon lately to ask it more questions about, what are you seeing? Show me the patterns. And it's been really good. I've been looking at this data all the time for the last 6 months, so I know it inside out and backwards and forwards, and Axon's doing a really good job. I would say probably even with the mathematical calculations, which AI tools tend to struggle with, it's probably within 3 to 5% of the actual numbers. And then I ask it for, give me an executive summary, tell me what you think. And I'll say, hey, you've had 38 errors from this interface. You really need to look at this. 45% of them have been outside of business hours. If you're trying to make your employee satisfaction improve, this might be something you want to look at. And it will go through and pull out all the big highlights and really provide a nice summary. And it's very accurate of what we should be looking at and things that we need to be fixing. So I feel I'm at a point where if I wasn't hovering over this data week by week by week, I could throw it in there and trust that it would come back with reliable results.
Awesome. Really, yeah, I totally relate to a lot of that, especially the executive summary part of it, of being able to just pop out and give a quick rendition is really helpful. I know that we're kind of running up on time here. The last one that I'll end with is if there's anything that you'd say to a customer who's hesitant to using Axon, or if they have any concerns, what might you say?
Well, for me, right now, I'm sitting here in shock and awe because of the demo. I didn't know Axon could actually just build the whole route. So, yeah, I mean, if that doesn't get you, I'm not too sure what else you could do. But it's also it's a learning tool. It's not just something to build. It's a learning tool. Ted and everybody has brought it up, and it's for me. It's one of the important keys that Axon does. I call it the prompt response prompt. After you ask it something, it will actually literally ask you questions or give you ideas that you might not have thought of. And that's, to me, is a learning tool. So that's another reason why I'm on board with it. But this building a whole route, that was pretty nice.
Yeah.
I would say
Yeah, to add to that, the Rhapsody Agenic was released about a week ago, so I've definitely downloaded it.
So that's why I didn't know it was about.
That's why you didn't know about it. It's hot off the press.
Yeah. So okay. So, but that was that's pretty nifty.
For anybody that's out there, just they don't know what to do, just start somewhere. Just pick something. Like for me, not being a Rhapsody expert, I just picked. Let me see what I can do with this on-call data to try to make life better for the team. Just try something. Pick something.
Yeah.
And in terms of the agentic agent that can create the routes for you, I don't know, that's probably going to make people nervous, but from my perspective, I would say I wouldn't let it make people nervous. I'm just going to take over my job, because you have to still understand what you're doing and the integrations and how Rhapsody works to be able to make really good use of that. So if you just are a new person that's never used Rhapsody, yeah, you can write the route, but you don't know what's happening behind it. And if something goes unexpected and you need to fix it, you still need to have the knowledge behind it to make the tools work for you.
Right.
Totally.
Right.
Yeah, makes a ton of sense. I know we're right up against time, so I'll end it here, and thank you both so much again for joining us. Love hearing both of your sides of the story. We've got a lot of questions in the chat. We will try our best to answer all of those offline. One, I just want to say quickly, Axon is available with no additional cost or license as of right now. And so just wanted to make that clear. I see we had some questions about that. So as of now, if you're a Rhapsody customer, you can access it either on the web. I saw another question about where to access it. You have to have Rhapsody 7.8 to be able to access it within your IDE to do the agentic functions like Caitlin demoed earlier. If you're not on 7.8, you can access it online on One Rhapsody. We've seen lots of other questions come through. Like I said, we'll try our best to get to them offline. But yeah, once again, thank you both for joining us, and thank you everyone for attending today. This was really great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome. Great. Thank you everyone. Take care.